How do you take and make video calls with people who are deaf or hard of hearing? So many people are doing it now, video calls and conferencing calls, and it's a great thing to have, it's a great tool, we all love it, but of course there are challenges when it comes to communicating with those who are deaf or hard of hearing. And I've talked about this of how I do it and how I make it easy for me, but I want to share some general tips about doing these kind of things. And it's not going to be video conferencing etiquette like don't pick your nose when you're in a call, or don't wear your pajamas, wear what you normally wear to your client, or don't take it with you to the toilet, because people have done that. Instead, I want to focus on just these tips, focusing on those who are deaf and hard of hearing, how you can make it easy for them, and of course everyone is different. Those who are mildly, profoundly, different levels, they will have their own experiences and they will have their own preferences. So even before you make the call, if you know the person is deaf or hard of hearing, ask how can you make it easy for them, how can you make it easier for them, and what else can you do? Can you make it possible? Because there are ways of making it possible. Of course, if you are the deaf person in question, then make sure you inform them, because I've been guilty of not telling people, either because I didn't want to or I forgot. Make sure you tell them, and then from there get into the discussion of what could you do to make it easier, and also get into the discussion of what platform should you use, what tools work best. So for example, if you do want those auto captions, subtitles, then tools like Skype and Google Meet, they do a great job. But if you want something that is more stable and reliable and works very well and has other features, maybe something like Zoom is better for you. It just depends. You have to talk to each other and ask that question to make it easy, just make it work for everyone. And then also find out if a sign language interpreter is needed, because that is, of course, it's so doable. So make sure you also communicate with the sign language interpreter on what's going on, what's going to happen, and how you'd like to make sure that it's going to go smoothly. Just a brief conversation. It's very, very easy, and that's all you need to do. Just make sure you communicate between each other. One thing you should be aware of before you get into the call is that even for someone like me, video calls and even calls in general are exhausting. And that's because of the amount of concentration that you have to do, which eventually tires you out. There's a lot of focusing and listening and just staring at people's lips or facial expressions and concentrating. It's exhausting. So just make sure you're aware of that. Maybe if you want to make multiple calls in a day or make it long, it might not be the best thing to do. So discuss that as well and make sure that you have the right setup, and then we get into the call. What would also help before the call is to put together a basic agenda, to go over the things that you want to go over, just to give someone like myself to give an idea of what you want to talk about, and you don't have to really focus as hard to work out the topic, the theme, and you're almost immediately in that topic, you're almost there, and it just gives you a head start of what to expect. So if possible, provide just a basic agenda or even just a heads up what I want to talk about, and that does make a difference as well. During the call, turn on the video. I know not a lot of people like it, but the key word in video calls is video. So turn it on, but not just to see your pretty face, but it's also to see everything around it, the lip reading, facial expression. It just makes it easier to follow the conversation when you can see the person's face. Otherwise, if a video is off, then it's like a normal phone call. That makes it very challenging. Make the light facing you, not behind you. If the light is behind you, then it will create like a dark feature and you will not be able to see, create like a shadow of the person that you're trying to see, which means that it's almost like having a video off and you can't see that person's face, expression, and it's just not a good experience for anybody. So make sure that the light is facing directly on your face so that you can see everything. And that is part of a process of when you communicate with deaf people, as well as many other things I'm going to talk about. That's part of a process of making sure that it's a well-lit environment. Use microphones where possible. I'm not talking about those fancy microphones that people have, not even mine as well. I'm not saying that you have to have a microphone that I use, but even if you use those in-ear headphone kit that you get with your phone that has a little microphone on the wire, even they do a good job as well. Not the best, but it's good because the idea is that you want the sound to go into the microphone and then out in the ear. But if the sound goes through a person's speaker and then comes out of a speaker and then goes into the microphone there, it creates kind of distortion and echo. The sound quality is not good. So make sure you wear a microphone on top of it. Same idea, make sure you have headphones because I just said before, the sound, if it comes out of a speaker and it goes into the microphone in the same place, like on a laptop, it just makes the sound quality terrible. So if you have the headphone plugged in, then the sound will come out to your headphones and it doesn't go into the microphone, and that makes the sound quality better. Face the camera. Quite self-explanatory. It's a good thing to do face to face, which also means don't walk away, don't look elsewhere, don't just go off away from a camera. Need to see you, need to see those pretty face, but like I said, it's just to make sure that it's easy to lip read and everything else that comes with it. Just don't walk away. Face, head straight on, look at the camera. People forget that you should look at the camera, not look at yourself, which is, you need to remind yourself to do that, but it makes a big difference for everybody, not just those who are deaf and hard of hearing, but everybody. While you're talking, like anytime, not just during the video call, don't cover your mouth because it doesn't make it easy for us to lip read. It's something that people forget. You get relaxed, you get comfortable, and just gonna, chill out for a bit, and then you end up talking almost like just naturally. You cover your mouth without even knowing that, but that's not good. So don't cover your mouth. It's simple as that. Limit any background noise that you may have around you, and just do it as well as you can, because if you have children, stuff like that, I get it. It's tricky. You can only do your best. But I'm talking like, for example, if you have a TV on, or music on, these kind of things which are in your control, you can turn them off. If you are in somewhere where there is a noisy environment, in a cafe or stuff like that, then you have to really try to find a better environment to have these calls. It's just not easy to just separate the background noise and what you are saying. And that makes a big difference, again, not just in the video calls, in general as well. Background noise are a pain to deal with. If there is a group of you and there is some kind of background noise, but you only want to listen, or maybe you're fidgeting with something on your hand and it makes noises and it just creates all the distortion in a sound, then click on the mute button. It's there for a reason, and if you're just going to listen, it's even better. You may as well mute it anyway. It makes it a clean, simple, easy way to figure out what you're saying. So make sure you use the mute button. There's no harm in that. Use the chat function if you need to, especially for those hard to pronounce words or those complicated jargons, or you want to share, like for example, the address of a website. Instead of saying it out, just write it down. It does make a big difference when those time in a conversation you just don't know what that person is saying because of something like that. Then you just type it in a chat, and then that's it. It's so easy for everyone as well. So use it when you need to use it. Don't mess with the background. People are having a good time with that at the moment, using those virtual backgrounds, or even using those backgrounds which are very distracting, and again, it makes it difficult to see that person. Sometimes for certain people, it's just very hard to separate that, especially those, I'm assuming, who are visually impaired. Then it's not a nice experience. So don't mess it. You can have a simple, clean background. I guess it's okay, but if it's especially those moving one and annoying one, then nah, you don't need to use it really. I know you want to have fun, but the video call is for a video call, not for stuff like that. If there is a sign language interpreter in the call, you still want to make sure that you're talking to that deaf person. So for example, you don't want to say, can you tell this person, and say what I want to say. So for example, if your interpreter's name is David and the deaf person's name is Mary, then you don't say, David, can you tell Mary? No, you don't say it like that. Just say, so Mary, how about this? And you get into the conversation. The interpreter will do their job, and that's it. And it's just like in person as well. When outside a video call, if you're talking to a deaf person and there's an interpreter beside that person, you face and talk to the deaf person. You don't talk to the sign language interpreter. Yes, acknowledge and that person there, great, but really you're talking to that deaf person. So applies online on offline as well. Just be aware of that. And then at the end of all that, you can still and should say thank you to the interpreter for being there, for helping. It's just a nice thing to do. But apart from that, like I said, you don't have to focus all your attention on the interpreter. After the call, do what you need to do, follow up if necessary, send the notes and the minutes and the memos, do all of that, and that's basically it. And you can continue doing that, go over these tips over and over again, and it should make the process a whole lot easier. Just remember, as I said, at the end of these calls, I tend to get so tired mentally because of the sheer amount of concentration that you have to do, which is why I don't tend to have too many phone calls in one day. I have my own limit. Different people have their own limit. Just be aware that everyone is different. I have provided you a general overview, and I would love to have more tips and advice from other people. Let me know in the comments. If you share it with me, that would be great. But this is a general overview of what to expect and how to make it easier for a lot of people. And I hope that makes sense. I hope you've learned a lot from this video. Let me know what you think in a comment. Make sure you subscribe and like. Do all the things necessary. It's still important that people understand how to make the most out of video calls, whatever the situation, because it's a useful technology. So make sure you do all that, and I would love to speak to you again in the future. Take care.